Hi everyone, Emma here. I'm so excited to show you how to make a lovely multi-strand leather bracelet. So these are the two that I've made right now. This one here I made a few years ago. Let's get that going here. And yeah, so these are made with ceramic beads. And this one has some metal beads on it. I love this kind of melon type bead. And they've actually, I'm surprised they've held up. They haven't rusted or anything. But so yeah, it's just basically attaching your button and putting a barrel knot, 4 strands. And then when you get to the end of the beads, you do another barrel knot. This one seems to be a little twisted. But like I said, this was a couple of years ago. So, and this is your opening for your button. Let's show you like this. And then I do the barrel knot for the second barrel knot for the closure. And it's up to you if you want to add little tassel like beads to the end. You can cut it right here and just put some glue in there to make sure it stays solid. And I usually tighten this incredibly so that this is super tight. It won't come out. So that one turned out really nice. I will look up the AliExpress seller that I got these beads from. And let's talk about these beads. So they are stunning. I found they were a little expensive, and I'll have to double check the price because that was before COVID. Since then, the prices have gone up a lot. So let's take a look at the tray of these beads. This is all from the same seller. I guess I'm all the way out here. So these are all the different beads that I got. Now the ones that I'm using right now are these little beads, and they come in different colors. I bought, I think, a set of mixed, and that's what I had over there. And funny enough, with the mix, I got like maybe 5 orange ones in there. Now I don't know if they actually have orange, but so there's different sizes. Let me get my caliper. These ones are 5. I think they're 5 by 6. Oh, 5 by 7. So I'm not sure how they classify them. Like I said, this is years ago that I bought these. Sometimes they'll just say they're 5mm round, but it's something like this. But this is actually 7. But next to the next size bead, so I bought some of the larger beads. These ones here, and these ones will measure the largest diameter. These ones are 10, actually 11 by 8. And then they had, let's bring this back because they had some other really spectacular beads. So they had these ones that look like almost like a raindrop, and it's got the crackle design in the bead. Here you might see better with the darker one. Some of them, the color is really dark. Let me grab my tweezers. It makes it easier to get these out. This one's darker, you can see. Yeah, isn't that amazing? Look at how they're beautiful, and the holes are nice and big. That's the key to all of this. These smaller ones, I use 2mm leather, and the leather goes through. It's unfinished on the inside, so you have to be careful stringing your beads on because the roughness of the ceramic might scuff up your leather. But I didn't have any problem with mine, so there's that one. So these are gorgeous. They have, I got the kind of pale blue one. I got the darker blue one, and then the green. But I think they actually had more colors of this. They have like incredible ceramic beads. If you're into ceramic beads, these are gorgeous. Now these, again, these were a little more expensive. These are a larger bead. They are quite large. And there's the hole. So these are 21 millimeters by, where am I here? By 17. So they're quite big. And the other ones I wanted to show you, I'll grab one of each color that I got. These are incredible. I have an unboxing of all of these. So if you go back, just type in the search bar. Now I have over 1,200 videos, so it's hard for me to, like, I'd have to go back and do it, but I'll do my best to find that unboxing. But if I don't find it and you're looking for it, just type in baby squirrel beading ceramic unboxing, even just ceramic, and it'll come up. So these are gorgeous. Now you have to watch with these a couple of things. The holes are a bit, they're not perfectly round. So I think I grabbed one earlier, something like that would still be big enough to put a 2 millimeter leather through. But you know, you might come across one. I think this one's tiny. That might be a bit tight. These are rough, unfinished on the back, and for a bracelet, it's actually smooth. So it wouldn't be too bad, but if you were concerned about it, you could put a piece of felt or a piece of leather on the back side. I may end up doing some leather bracelets with these guys. It'll be super cool. And then I got these with the lotus flower. These are gorgeous too. Those are for necklaces. So let's get to the bracelet. I did put some of those side beads on some leather to see what kind of design I could make. That's what I do when I first get them. I try and come up with some design idea. This one here, I did a barrel knot attaching. So, okay, so let's put that aside. So what I was going to say about these were they came in, I don't know where that one was. You can buy them mixed. Or buy individual colors. And I'm not sure why I got them mixed. They might have been cheaper by a few, maybe 50 cents or something like that. So this is what we're going to make. Oh, it's so gorgeous. I love these earthy tones, but then with the big pop of red. So I went and put red leather as well. And I get my leather from Exotica leather. I will put the link to Exotica. Now, these buttons are Czech glass hand painted buttons, and you can get these from Scara Beads. I think you can get them at some other art stores like Art Beads and stuff like that. I would suggest you go to Scara Beads for them. It's direct from the Czech Republic. And the shipping, they use their regular mail shipping, so it's super cheap. And I've ordered so much stuff from them, so they're a good source for that. I think Jill Wiseman sells these buttons as well. So for this one, I am going to use, I'm dying to use this button, and I think, take a look, if we did something like that, wouldn't that be amazing? So this could be the focal of the bracelet, and then you have all the beads. So let's talk about the leather. Since you need 4 strands, you're going to take the length of your wrist size or whatever size you're making the bracelet for. And you're going to add, so what I did was you're going to add the length plus your button, your knots, and your closure. And let me show you next to my ruler here. So you might have to play with this a bit. So I just put my piece like that. Now, of course, you don't have a button and stuff, but if you take your wrist size and then whatever size button you have, so let's pretend there's no button here, but you're going to add a barrel knot, so you can count about 1/2 inch for that barrel knot, the size of your button. So we'll put the barrel knot, the button there, then the barrel knot. Well, the barrel knot will sit, because this button's so big, the barrel knot will sit underneath it. So you actually don't have to count that. Then the length of your wrist. So if you're a 7-inch, and this is already up to 1.5 inches, so you're going to go to 8.5 inches. And you have to incorporate how big your buttons are. If I were using bigger buttons, I'd actually end up with longer flat bracelet, because when we turn it this way, those big buttons or those big beads shorten the inner circumference of your wrist. So the best way to do this is buy yourself a mandrel. It will save you so many headaches. I got this on Amazon for like $20. There's tons of sellers that sell these. You don't need a wooden one. I just like the wooden, and I double checked my measurements and then wrote it in. I think they were really tiny. I couldn't see it. So definitely use that. So then add your opening, which is basically your button size, and then your barrel knot again, and however long a tassel you want. So if you take a look at this bracelet, and if you could see the whole, so there's 12 inches right here. So this fits a 7-inch wrist, and it's using 12 inches. I would actually go a little more than that. So let's figure this out. You need 4 strands, so you need 4 times 12. But you have to add for your barrel knots. They, believe it or not, take up a lot of space. You also need a certain amount when you get to the end to create these little knots. You need a piece of leather on this end to do the knot. Otherwise, you can't twist that knot. So sadly, let me just get the piece. You're going to cut pieces like this off. Now, if you're like saving on your leather, a hint for that is to add extra long pieces of leather. So when you cut this, you actually have a long piece you can use for another bracelet. But these are so cheap. They're like $25 or $30 for a big roll of leather. So, and they have smaller rolls for like $10, and it's so much cheaper than buying it from a bead store and all that stuff. So let's go back. Right now we need 4 strands of 12-inch plus 1 for the barrel knots, and I'm going to suggest you add another 12-inch for your knotting and stuff, because I don't know if you can see this, but this one here is short because this was the strand that I used for this. Now normally when you make a bracelet, you alternate what strand you use for your barrel knots. So the first one could be that strand, and I did use another one for this strand, and then a totally different one for this strand. It usually evens up your strands, but because this one I did 4 wraps, it actually used, I mean, that's not a lot, but it used it up, so I was not happy. But the person I'm gifting this to will be so happy to get this. So let's, that was a lot of talking, but I'll tell you, it's important to get this information, because that's one of the questions I get the most is how much leather. And because if you're not buying these in bulk, you're going to get, you know, you might use up your leather and then you get to the end and you don't have enough. So that is not friendship. So there's 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm using actually a little bit more, but and I cut my leather with flush cutters. You can use scissors. Cuts it nice. So put that aside. Now you're going to fold your leather in 2. And just so you know, that's where the this leather from Exotica, if you get a piece of leather that's like multiple pieces together, you will see the knots. They leave the knots in. Other companies will splice it and hide the knot, and then when you go to do your bracelet, it will break. So, you know, that was the only knot in this whole thing. So anyway, fold it in 2. We're going to fold it again. So fold that whole thing into, so this is going to be your midpoint. This is going to be your bottom. We're going to cut this one. So let me just hang on to this and bring this down. I'm going to move my ruler now, and I'm going to cut this one. And we'll zoom in now that we have what we need. I'm trying to remember how to do this. Run! Okay, I'm just gonna do a loose knot here for now. Just because we need to talk about the button. So, because this is our midpoint, we need to put both of these pieces of 2mm leather through this hole. 1mm will go through, definitely not 2. So, if you're using a glass button, this is what I do. It's probably not the best way to do this. If you have a suggestion, let me know. I'm always open to suggestions. I am going to gently clip one edge, and I'm going to open this. We're going to put the leather in, and then we're going to close it as best as possible. Because once this is on, it's okay to squeeze the leather. And that's all it does. So you take your pliers and you bring it down to as close to the glass button without cracking it. That's all it took. Nice gentle clip. Now I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to open this so I can get that second one in. And again, be gentle with the other edge. But you can see how nicely that opens up. So let's get this in here. Let me see if I can get that nicely. I'm going to try and pinch these as well. So I'm going to pinch them down. Okay, they don't want to do it together. Without damaging your leather. This stuff's really soft, so it's a little more than what I would like. But that's okay. Let's try it this way. Get that one in. Get that second one in. Poke that in. Now I'm going to gently move this back. Let's see if I can, there we go. And see if we can squeeze that in. So that's probably enough. There is a tiny little gap there, but that leather won't come off. And you know my biggest thing is I do this all the time, and I never follow my own advice. When you get it to a certain point, leave it. You go that extra step and you mess things up. That's my life in a nutshell. So I can't stop being Emma. Actually, that worked. This wire's pretty smooth. So it doesn't matter if it sits sideways on the leather like that, because that's how it's going to sit on your wrist anyway. So now undo your knot. You don't have to worry because they're now attached, so they're not going anywhere. And let's do our barrel knot. So of course I have it going, let me tilt this. I have it going this way, so we'll just go ahead and do our barrel knot that way. So you're going to pinch all 4 pieces together. And if you don't have a barrel knot, you can order these. They're called tube beads. They're super cheap. You can order them on AliExpress or Temu. Bead stores have them as well. I got these on eBay, like 200 of them for like a couple of dollars years ago, and I still have tons, and I give them out during giveaway time and stuff like that. But anyway, so you take your tube. If you don't have one of these, you can use a straw. Let's do it this way so I can see. Put your tube bead approximately where you want to have your knot. And this one's going to be like tricky with your hand. So here's the tip. I start with pinching on this side. Then once I have the position, grab the other side. You're going to take one of the strands. Doesn't matter which one. You're going to take it and you're going to wrap it going this way towards your other hand. And how many wraps is up to you. So why don't we do 3 this time? Let's look at this one. This is a 3 one. And yeah, I don't think it needs the 4. But that's up to you. You could also do a snake knot. I have an awesome video on how to do snake knots. So there's the 3. I am going to take that strand. So I switched from holding it with this fingers to holding it with this one so that your knot doesn't come apart. You'll see when you go to do this, it is a bit tricky, but if you remember to pinch and hold that knot. So now you're going to take and put the end of the strand that you used to wrap everything, put it through the tube, and you can grab it at the bottom and pull it through like that, and then push the whole thing through like that and pull the tube off. So we switched hands again. So now this strand that we pulled through, we're going to use it to tighten everything. And let's just take a look at where we're at. So we're far away from the button, not to worry. If you can manage to do your loops over here, that's even better, but it's not a big deal. All you have to do, make sure you hang on to that strand, is just jiggle your knot towards the button like that. And then that must have been the wrong, oh no, it's tightening. There we go. I'm used to doing this with 2 strands, so I'm like, why are these so loose? It's these here, the other strands. So what is that one, this one? Oh, I see, it's the, there we go. So yeah, get that knot. I kind of like the knot beyond the button's edge so that I can see. I love these barrel knots, so I'm just going to tighten, make sure it's nice and tight. And I'd like to say that's it, we're done. Now we have to string these on. So I did, I put 30 piles of 30 beads. On this one here, when I was getting to the, I think there was 32 on each. When I was getting to the end, it looked like it was too much. So I took off, I think, 6 beads from these. And if you take a look, you can see how far the closure opening is. I didn't want that to happen. So I think, you know, if you add this much in beads, it'll work out. So I'm going to stick with the 30 that I have. So let's start. So this part's a bit boring. Hang in there. I'll try and make it more interesting. So I'm just clipping the edge of the strand on an angle to kind of make it easier to thread. And here's a really tiny one. Let's see if it goes on. Yep, look at that. Awesome. So just get these on. Let me see if I can do them quickly. And if you're concerned about the order of these going on, I use a trick that Jill Wiseman uses because I am OCD. I have to have everything in the exact order. So you mix it up and then you just, without paying attention to what you're doing, squeeze these into a line. And then you get a random pattern and pick them up that way. So thank you, Jill, for that. I still get to points where I have the same bead, same color bead, and I'm like, nope, can't use that one. So then you're actually, you know, affecting the randomness. Yeah. So these are lovely. You know, when I started beading, I started doing leather bracelets, and then I got into the bead weaving, which I really enjoy. I'm a total crazy nut for Swarovski crystals, stuff like that. So, but every once in a while, so this is meant as a gift for one of the teachers at the massage clinic that I go to. And she's very hippie trippy like me. When I was growing up, I was like 18 living in Toronto. I dressed like a hippie. I had like hippie beads and the whole bit. I'm going to adjust the light here on my hands. Everything's in shadow. But yeah, so it's fun to get back into that. I think, you know what, summer is a fun time to do, play with different styles. Things, you know, clothing's cheaper, you need less fabric. So why not dress up what you have with some hippie beads? I should do that next. I did a video a long time ago on that, and I have a bunch of really beautiful pendants that would look nice on a strand of hippie beads. I like them because you just put them over your head. There's no clasp. It's lovely. So this is what you get. Let me get my ruler to see what this 30 does here. So let's bring these down. So yeah, it's just under. If you wanted to go exactly to 7, you could, but I think this should do it with all the barrel knots. It'll be fine. So I'm going to draw those all the way down to next to the button. I think the colors really go well with this button. Okay, so I'm just going to put a loose knot in this, like that, and move on to the next one. Let's see if we can do some random. I know I'm looking. I'm paying attention. So I just got back from the hospital. I have had some cardiac issues. It's taken a year to get an appointment. So my family doctor was just a little freaked out. So I managed to see the cardiologist today. So they're going to send me for a bunch of tests. So this is the next one. I'm going to go ahead and clip it again. Just make it easier. And I didn't get much randomness on this, so let's just try and do our own rando, which isn't very rando. So I hope everyone's doing well. I'm guessing it's not officially summer, it's more like spring here. And our temperatures are supposed to go up to 28 today, Celsius. So hot. It was that temperature yesterday, and we were at the hospital for another appointment, and then we went to Costco. So I don't know if you have Costco in the States, but we have it's like Sam's Club, and just getting in and out of the car, going from place to place, was disgusting. I was so overheated, I thought I was gonna pass out. And of course, with cardiac issues, they tell you about getting overheated, and like, yeah, I don't feel good. But we were right by the ocean, so we get a really amazing breeze off the ocean. It's not fun in January when you're freezing and you go for a walk and you're freezing your tuchus off. So there's the next one. Yeah, these beads are just like, you look at the little speckles, and just amazing. It was super. I'm always happy when I get a bead that will slide onto a piece of leather, because this way I don't have to use thread to string it on to two pieces of leather. This one looks small. There we go. Bring those down. Starting to come together. And put just a loose knot in that. I'm going to move this one over. Looks like an octopus. So let's talk about buttons. I have some large hole shank buttons that I got a couple of years ago, and I have unboxings videos for that in case you want to take a look. I got those, and let me grab one in particular to show you. So if you're doing leather work and you want a nice button to fit your leather, what the heck? Oh, there it is. Let me see. Okay, so here's an example. This is a pewter button. Look at the size of that shank. So I could have easily put my 2 strands of leather. And if you're working with a thicker leather or you want multiple strands, it's great, not to have to worry about how you're going to get your leather through these tiny holes. Let me get a regular size. That one's actually pretty big. But if you're to buy buttons on AliExpress, this is the size you get. Sometimes your 2mm won't even go through this. But what I've done is you can take your bead reamer. I have to apologize. I organized my office. That means I can't find anything. Oh, it's so bad. Anyway, use your bead reamer. It's probably on the other desk. To open these up, it works great. Now here's another one, but this one actually, the shank is pretty big, although you wouldn't get 2 strands through this. Now I do have a technique. If you're doing a cuff bracelet, so a cuff bracelet, you're going to have 2 strands coming out this way, and then another strand on either side to go around the beads. So you need to attach your leather through whatever size shank you have. And if it's not big enough for all those strands, there is a way to do it. And you can take a look at the cuff bracelet designs that I have. I have a few videos out there. It basically use Eslon thread, and you'll like attach your next piece of leather and wrap it with the Eslon. There's a technique to get it tight, and then you glue it and you're fine. And of course it's hidden by the button. But yeah, so back to the button situation. I used to get these buttons from a lady that had a Canadian Etsy shop, and I haven't been able to find her anywhere. She's not on Etsy. Just before one of my last orders, she had opened her own store aside from Etsy, so I could order things through her. But I've managed to find that store, but it says that the site's under construction. It's been like that for a year, so I don't know what the deal is. If you are struggling to find buttons, let me know. I'm going to continue to look for some large hole shank buttons for doing leather bracelets, and I will let you know anytime I get something like that. I did find a US store. I'll have to go back and find out where the store is, but they had some of the buttons that she sold me. So and you could buy it wholesale from them, and they were really nice pewter buttons. They had some really cool stuff. So I'll try and find those. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. There is also another shop. It was an Etsy shop in the States that I got really stunning buttons from. Somewhere in Sacramento, I think. But if you just do a search on Etsy, buttons, you might want to refine your search to metal buttons. So I wish I could give you better information than that, but that I've been searching for years since. And you know what? I don't know if I had a feeling about it, but I bought a lot of stuff from her the last time. So I actually have a pretty good stash. But yeah. So we got one more. This is how easy this is. This is like leather bracelet. Super simple. There's a lot of yellows in here, I think. Let's see if we can separate these a bit. Okay, get my last strand. And I'll just try, yeah, I think I need to get it on an angle here. So we went to Costco, and it was a gift card that my sister gave us for membership, and oh my gosh, it was so busy, and it was a Wednesday, and it was funny because we were at the hospital, and I was in the waiting room, and I started talking to the lady next to me, and she goes, "Oh, you'll love Costco," and she goes, "Oh, this one's super tight. I'm gonna substitute that one." And I think it's just there's a bit of a flaw in it or something. She's like, "Oh, Wednesday, you should be fine. There won't be any crowds." I don't know what it was, but we got there. The lineups were all the way to the back of the store. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm thinking to myself, there's no way I'm going to go stand in line for half an hour or more for stuff. But I guess it was a weird occurrence, and within 15 minutes, they opened up every cache. So the lines went really fast. When we got to go in the line, it wasn't even 10 minutes in line. It just flew through. So you gotta remember to grab another beige one here. Oh, there's a green one. Come here, my pretties. Oh, let's get a yellow. I don't know why I'm obsessed with, I guess, the boho feel to these ceramics. I took a ceramics class with my sister when we were both working in Toronto, and it was at a high school in the neighborhood. It was great. We had so much fun. So maybe that's why I'm hooked on these ceramic beads. So let's bring it down. Okay, so let's take all of the strands. Let's go out a bit so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to undo the knots. Like that. So one of these will be shorter than the other, and that's the one that made this barrel knot. So just remember that. You want to alternate your strands. And I am going to bring these up so that, you know, if I miscounted or anything. It doesn't really matter. Like on some of these, some of the strands stick out more than the other. I probably, you know, had different amounts. It still looks very organic, so not a biggie. So there's that one. That one. Yeah, this one just, yeah, so here's the thing. I wouldn't push them down as far down as this. I would give it a little space. So then they would actually sit, if you wanted, you could have them sit flush like that so it looks like a cuff. But I think I'm just gonna, you know, grab these here. And let's double check the length. So our barrel knot, and you can actually twist them a bit if you want. So our barrel knot would be probably about the width of my thumb. So this is where the mandrel comes in really handy. Grab it like that. So I was aiming for 7, and that's pretty close. That might be a bit tight, actually. So we could give it a little more space for the beads to move around. Because you don't want your bracelets tight on your wrist. I know I don't. I mean, you may like it, but so I'm going to take a look. This, I'm going to make sure this stays where I don't use it as a knot, but pretty much the rest are all the same length. Let's grab the one that's the longest, just to be safe. So now you have your strands. I am going to just pull this so they're all here. And like I said, I'm going to give it some space. I'm going to start my knot here. So again, same thing. Take your barrel knot, put your thumb down there, grab, take your longest strand, bring it under. You can go over as well, just keep going the same way, and you're always going towards the button if you can't remember. And I wrapped it. This is basically 3 because this strand here is going to go through there, so it's actually going to come out, so it'll just be 3. So now switch fingers, take your strand end, put it through the tube, and you can see it's coming out the bottom. You can grab that like that and push the tube through. Now I'm going to switch fingers like that. Make sure you hold on to everything and pull your tube out and pull your strand. So you see how that kind of tucked. I'm going to grab everything. And that's pretty much where I want my knot. Before I tighten it, figure out where you want it. If you want it flush to the beads, you can actually just take your fingers and jiggle it back and forth till it gets to that point. But this is where I want it. And don't worry about these. See how they're moving? We'll make sure they're not loose when we're done. So just keep jiggling with your thumb and forefinger as you're pulling with this hand. And I make sure this is super tight. I haven't used glue in years on these. So you can see they're not quite even. They're not, some are tight and some aren't. Let's just make sure those strands, the loose strands here, get tightened. Where am I here? Probably these. All you have to do is hold on to your bracelet here and then pull these away from your knot. You can do them one at a time. Like that, and that one. There, so now they're all even Steven. Now we want to make our closure for our button. This button usually sits this way here, but to put it through your strands, you can put it through the smallest part. So take your button and measure dots where I want my next knot, and that should go through easily. Again, bring these guys here. Take a look. This was the short one. I could tell because it's all curled. And then I'm looking at the other ones. Just find the other short one and avoid using that one as well, because it'll just shorten the amount of leather you have to work with. So now just take one of these. So I'm going to take this one, and now we don't have to worry about these guys. Grab your barrel tube. I'm pinching my finger to give me my distance, but we can always double check that. So that's what you have. Put your thumb down. This is the one we're going to use. So you can go from the top and go around this way, but I am going to just continue in the same where I go under and around. And use your finger to hold your leather. Just remember to get the strands on each, like going towards the button, so that this first one you have to make sure it gets past that loop. There's your third. This is actually coming around a fourth, but it won't make a fourth strand because we're going to take it and put it through the button, or through the tube. Again, grab hold of that. and switch fingers. So you want to make sure you hold on to that and pull your tube out and bring your strand. This is where you're going to double check that your button will actually fit through this. So that looks really big. I don't think we need it that big. Yeah, you can see we definitely don't need it that big. Yeah, so like I said, we haven't tightened it. This is the tightening leather. Just bring it between your thumb and forefinger and jiggle it towards. Then before we tighten it, it's still a bit big. I'm going to go a little more, but you might like it that way. So now I'm tightening. I'm pretty sure that's got it, but let's check. Perfect. I think that's going to do it. So you do want it a little bit bigger. There is a bit of this area to go through. So let's make sure this is super tight so this knot doesn't come out. If you're not sure of the person's wrist size, you can always leave this one a bit loose, because even if this one's here, the button won't go any further than here. So you can actually loosen this one out a bit to make it fit the person exactly. And let me just show you the example on this one. So I put the barrel knot here when I went off of the amount of beads, and I took away too many beads in the first try. So really the 7-inch would be at this point here, but this will stay on someone's wrist like that. So you don't have to worry, you can extend that closure. So let's tighten this nice and tight and make sure those are all even. So now you have some length. This is like, makes me so happy that there's length left, because trying to do these tiny little knots on the end is so frustrating, because it's basically a barrel knot with only like twice around. It's next to impossible to do. So let's get some beads and do one of each. What colors? Green and red. We need a nice red one. I've got a green, a white, yellow. There. So there's our 4. Some of these that I got are not as speckly. Like these ones. Look at the speckles. Oh, it's hard to see, sorry. And we'll zoom in. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. There. So these are nice. So let's, I'm gonna leave that one. Okay, that's it. So let's put one of these on here. The amount of tassel is up to you. Let's take a look at this one. I think, you know, something like this is really nice. Now you can stagger them different lengths as well, so that they kind of fan out a bit. I'm just gonna play it by ear. So take this end, so you got your bead on, take your tube and bring it up here. Go once and twice. Make sure you're on the other side of that first loop. Oh, these are like a little bit tricky to do. Let me see if I've got this right. Let's try this again. I think I'm gonna go 2 full rounds. Yeah, like that. That's what I need. So bring this down here through your hole and pull it through, and that's what you have. So now decide think I will pull this right down a little bit longer and tighten that up. And this one again, you want to make sure it is super tight. The leather will compress and then it will keep that position. So you really don't need any glue. And I use my fingers to kind of mold the leather in the position I want. So let's see how that looks. That's actually pretty good. Before I cut this, so right now I would cut it right there. Before I cut it, I'm going to do the others. And that way, if I change my mind and I want it, you know, a little bit different. So I think I will fan them out a little longer, each one on top. So we'll take this one and let's put the red one here. So that's about there. Grab your tube, do once, twice, and come down to the bottom. Put your cord through all the way. Switch fingers like that. Pull everything through. Gonna take a look at where. Oh, look! I think it's a little too long. So I'm just gonna wiggle. This sounds like one of those children's shows, The Wiggles. I have no idea. I never had kids. Every once in a while, Jen had 2 boys. They're adults now, but she'll talk about the Winnie the Pooh and stuff. Winnie the Pooh stories. It's a little longer than, so you can see it's super tight. I'm going to try and scooch that back and move this up a little. So you can get that out. And now I'm going to make sure that's not going anywhere. It's a little longer than I'd like. Get the next one. So let's do it here. Okay. Go like that. Around twice. Come through the bottom and put it through the tube. And then check. I'm going to bring it up a bit. There. It's a lot of fiddly, you know, it reminds me of doing bead weaving in the sense that you get to the clasp and it takes the longest part. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. That one's a little bit too long, I think. Let's see if I can loosen that. Yeah. Yeah. You know, I don't, in case you're wondering, I don't edit my videos. So this kind of stuff you're going to see, right? I watch other people's videos. I kind of would love to have perfect videos. But I look at other people's videos and you know what? Initially I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. How do they do that without stopping? I didn't see any edits. And then now when I watch, I'm like, do they not realize that they messed up on that? And like they didn't do a proper like a nice wrap of the wire wrap for, you know, putting a dangle or something like that. And it's like, oh, now I know why. Is people just they do it and they say this is what you're gonna do. They don't point out their own mistakes. I mean, I understand you'd be there all day, like my videos, but you guys like visiting with me. That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. So there. Let's see where this takes us. So yeah, I have like a longer, shorter, and then this one, let's pull this, kind of playing with it a bit. There. I think that should do it for those. So let's cut these. So because I've pulled this super tight, I can cut this right there. You might want to leave a little bit of a thing, and you might want to put it on an angle to make it look like it was intended, but I'm going to cut it pretty flush. And I might take a Copic marker or Sharpie marker that's kind of the same color as this leather and cover that white area, but you don't have to. So this is what I was saying about the extra pieces at the end. So this is maybe 10 inches each strand. If you added, say, even another 12-inch amount, then this would probably be quite long, these pieces. But I could use these for smaller bracelets, or I can use them for earrings and stuff like that. So I actually have a jar that I save all these bits, and believe it or not, I use them a lot. So let's take a look at this bracelet that you guys helped me make. Let's see. There's the button. Oh my gosh, this. Look, this turned out amazing. Oh yeah, this is lovely. It's I come out here, and this is the one I made for the massage therapist teacher. She's giving me a free massage. That's pretty amazing. You get a massage from the teacher. And then there's this one here. This was the sample that we started with. So there we go. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.